Today's lesson, lesson 5.7, is on scale factors. You can refer to page 172, 4-6 in the textbook for more information. Today's learning goal is I can solve problems involving scale factors. Let's start with our lesson. Gina is on a road trip and is reading a map that has a scale of 1 inch is 30 miles. Her trip measures 3.5 inches on the map. What will her actual distance be for the trip? Now, for today's lesson, I'm not actually going to do it. I have a guest speaker, if you will, who's actually from Australia. He's deep in Australia, and he is nice enough to come today and teach a lesson on scale factors. Now, the reason why I chose this gentleman from Australia is because he works a lot in the outback, and he deals a lot with maps and scale drawings and all of these things. And he is doing a study right now where he's deep in the jungles of Australia, and he's looking at koalas. Now, something fascinating he's going to talk today about, besides scale factors, of course, it's extremely fascinating, is he was just telling me that koalas apparently sleep more than any other animal in the entire world. Koalas actually sleep, as he was just telling me this, 20, sometimes 22 hours a day. He said that's because they sleep, because they eat these eucalyptus plant leaves that contain toxins that are very low in nutrition and high in fibrous matter. So they take a large amount of energy to digest. I think it's fascinating. I want you to give a large round of applause to Tom Arnold. Come on in, Tom.
Good day, mates. I'm taking the time today to teach you about scales and scale factors. So I use scale factors, mates, to look at maps and figure out how much distance I've got from one side of an area to another side of an area. So I'm really excited. Our friend here, Mr. Lou, is nice enough to invite me over today. I'm very busy, but I'm taking the time here to teach you about these scale factors. So let's jump right into it, will we? Okay. So mates, Gina is on a road trip and is reading a map that has a scale of 1 inch equals 30 miles. Her trip measures 3.5 inches on the map. What will her actual distance be? While you work this out, I'm going to go ahead and put a shrimp on the barbie. So, take a minute and work this out. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. To figure out the actual distance of the trip. Good day, mates. So we've got 1 inch equals 30 miles. 1 inch equals 30 miles. I've got 3.5 inches, mates, on the map, so I've got to do that. We've got 3.5 inches. We want to make sure we do inches over inches, so we have x here. Next, I'll multiply both sides by 1 to get 1x is equal to. Now, although I may spend a little time in the wilderness, I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick in my head. I'll get 105. So 1x is 105. Now you may recognize that 1x is equal to 105 and be done. Or if you prefer, you can divide both sides by 1, mate, and you get x is equal to 105. So the actual distance for our trip, we could say we're deep in the Australian forest, is 105. Let's continue. Oh, here comes Mr. Lou. He has something important he has to say. Thank you so much, Jim Arnold, for Tom Arnold, for doing that first question. You want to tell me a little bit about platypuses, right? Mate, that's a great idea. I think I should tell you a little bit about a platypus, exactly what I'm doing with those platypuses. Okay, so let's hear it. So tell me what you know about a platypus. Just give me a short little bit. Absolutely, mate. So one of the things I'm learning about the platypus is, mate, that they actually are referred to the duck-billed platypus sometimes, and it's a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal, which is very rare, you see, because in Australia, especially including Tanzania, with 4 species that actually lays eggs, but is also a mammal, you see. So that's some interesting things I'm learning about them platypuses. And now, one second. Okay, mates, so we're going to continue today with learning about scales and scale moments. So Jim, mates, he's building a model airplane. The scale is 1 inch is 25 feet. The actual length on the Barbie of the plane is 450. How long will the model be? So we're solving these by using proportions. So I've got 1 inch over 25 feet is equal to 450 feet over x. Do you remember what we're going to do next? Well, mates, if you said we was going to do times and across, opposite yours was correct. So we got 1 times 450, which is 450, and that's equal to 25x. Next, we're going to divide both sides by 25. Divide both sides by 25. You get x is equal to 18. There we go. So, we learned a lot right now so far. We learned about Jim and mates and how his model airplane and how long the model will be. And we also learned about koalas so far. And we learned about platypuses. Before, mates, we finish up for today, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to learn about Ning. And Ning measured a county. Oh, just ignore that. I'm doing it now for. I was going to do a problem with Unji there, but I decided to change my mind. So, mates, we're just going to measure a county park and made a scale drum. The scale he used was 1 inch for 6 yards. Mates, the picnic area is 24 inches in the drawing. How long will the actual picnic area be? So we're just going to set up ourselves a nice little proportion. So we got 1 inch, mates, to 24 inches. That's going to be equal, it's not 24 but 6. That's going to be equal to, and that should be yards, that's going to be equal to 24 inches on the top with an X on the bottom, mates. I'll start off by multiplying 6 times 24. 6 times 24 is 144. Divide both sides by 1 to get x is equal to 144. So, how long is the actual picnic area, mates? Well, the actual picnic area is 144. There we go. I want to thank you, mates, for letting me come here today and teach you about scales and scale factors. I hope you learned some things about Australia, and you also learned some things about scales and scale factors. I'm going to hand it back over to Mr. Liu because I've got myself a plane to catch. So, thank you so much, Mr. Liu, for coming in and allowing me to do this. And thank you so much. I want to thank you, Jim Arnold, for taking the time today to come in here. I know you're very busy, and you're usually, I mean, right now it's pretty warm here in Australia, right? So it's nice to be here in Abu Dhabi, where you can, you can kind of get some nice sunshine and to cooler temperatures, right? Absolutely, Mike. I'm really glad I was here today to teach you guys these things. Thank you so much for coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up by reading a learning goal. The learning goal is I can solve problems involving scale factors. Thank you again, and have a great day.